Let's see what Louise, our fussy eating guru, has whipped up to charm the choosiest of eaters. I'm included in one of those. Yeah. I'm quite fussy.
You've got Interpress.
I've got one friend, and this is not made up. He will not eat anything that grows at night time. Like, he's a nightmare to cook for.
What does that mean?
What grows at night time?
So, like, I didn't know onions grew at night time and peppers grow at night time and mushrooms. And he keeps going, do you still tell people the story? I'm like, yes, because you stopped me having dinner parties.
He needs some sort of help. Beyond you, Louise. Go see someone, please.
Oh, I wouldn't take him on as a caseload. So the whole idea is picnic food, because it's supposed to be summertime. Mm-hmm. And I'm making sausage rolls and polka dot eggs. So rule 101 with any kids that are restrictive eating or fussy eating is try and make it fun for them and get at their level.
Sorry, when you say restrictive eating, what do you mean by that?
So, like, my son, when he was at his worst, he only ate 10 foods. That's no exaggeration. We ended up in a hospital programme, and that's why I ended up retraining, going over to America to help my son, because he was losing so much weight. Yeah. It was, like, unbelievable. Yeah. And me as a chef, I started doubting myself as a mother. So I went back. We both had to relearn how to eat, because eating is a learned skill. That blew my mind. Mm-hmm. So sausage rolls, there's a lot of ones you can pre-make in the shops. Not a fan of most of them. I find a lot of them a bit leathery. This is so easy to make. Now, in my training of a lot of years ago, I can make puff pastry. But why make it when you can buy it?
Exactly.
Yes, and the thing is, there's lots of different ones you can get out there. You can get butter ones. This is just the whatever they had in my local shop. But puff pastry, make sure it is at room temperature. If it's butter, you need to use straight away. If it's not, look at this. You just fold this in half. This is like the best tip.
And you can get the kids involved in something like that, the folding.
This is the part of getting the kids involved, because when they're sitting at the table, sometimes there's a lot of pressure that they have to eat, and kids are fearful. So they think, if I put this on my plate, and if it's beside me, you're going to put pressure on me and I'm going to eat it. And that's where a lot of battles happen. So by getting them involved in this, it removes a lot of that pressure. And also, pastry doesn't have a strong smell. It's quite beige looking. So for children that are very scared, like my son was, this isn't scary. Like, he's not looking at this going, this is going to poison me. Now, sausages. I use sausage meat in my sausage rolls because at certain times of the year, it's really hard to get, like, your sausage meat. And again, with kids that are fussy eating, some of them are very restrictive of even textures of sausage. So it might be one type of brand that they'll use. Yeah. So by getting sausages, so just take the skin off, it means that you can use some food. So you want to do something that they're comfortable with. It's called safe food, because they're not scared to come to the table.
I mean, when you're saying this can really be a nightmare.
I've been through hell and back.
A lot of families.
Yep. 1 in 3 children around the world, it's not just a Western thing, are fussy eaters.
Yeah.
That is huge, and it's getting worse and worse.
It also limits you going out or going to parties or holidays
I didn't go
or
on
other houses.
Family holidays. Used to hate Christmas. Yeah. My son didn't go on any parties. Right. Then we used to have to get our food to go sometimes, because even the smells and the look of the food would really freak him out.
Yeah.
Can we ask how's he doing now?
Oh my God, amazing! But this is the reason I trained. This is the reason I went and retrained, was to help my son.
And is it a way of, like, sort of hiding certain foods in other foods?
Never. Anyone listening today, this is for Blake as well, Brian, do not hide food, because you think in one sense, and that's one of the biggest myths out there. You think you're doing your child a favour by hiding the food in. If they see the food and they're not used to being in their food, they won't trust you. And the food, that's their safe food that they might eat. And when my son was restricted to eat 10 foods, they will go off that food and they won't trust you, and they might actually be fearful of eating other foods, and you break that trust. It's a massive no-no. I've just put some chorizo in here. I'm going to tell you why now in a second. It's going to make a lot of noise.
I've also got a question for you once you're finished there. Mary in Limerick. Louise, our son, will not touch vegetables. Have you any advice how to make them more appealing? I've been blending them up and I want to stop doing that.
So vegetables is a big problem for a lot of kids. So they learn that, like, green is going to possibly kill me, and there's a texture reason a lot of kids don't eat. So when you cook vegetables, they're normally soggy and they're not very appetising. What I would say to Mary is, if you can, let your child have some raw vegetables, but you don't go, here's a vegetable, eat it. You need to put it in front of them in a non-pressurised way. So, for instance, my son did not touch any vegetables. I put some apple in here as well, and I'm just going to put in some panko breadcrumbs.
It can be really tricky, though, can't it, Louise, when parents are really pushed, they're stressed, they're doing all of that.
Highly stressed.
It's hard then to be very much like, well, you know, oh, eat it when you're ready.
Okay, so...
Do you know what I mean? You want, you're hungry, you're losing weight, you're getting sick. I'm really worried about you.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up in tears most time after. My whole background is chef.
Yeah.
So it is stressful, Brian, you're absolutely right. And so what I've done here, this is one tip. You could grate in some vegetables into this, but let your son see that it's going in. They might not eat initially, but they are getting used to vegetables are in their environment.
Bit by bit.
And then what I've done is I put in some chorizo. So it's called a slight noticeable difference. So say they eat sausages.
Yeah.
So you're blending this up and then you're putting in one thing that they mightn't be used to. So it's a little bit of chorizo. I would make maybe one with plain sausage meat and the other one without the plain sausage meat.
Test out the waters.
Because you keep wanting to push them.
Yeah.
If they say they eat all this food, put in some herbs, but let them put them in. Don't expect that they're going to eat it like immediately because they need to keep seeing it. But if you can remove the pressure, and Brian, that was for me the hardest thing to learn.
We do have one more question while you do that. Julie in Cork, she's asked this. Our kitchen table is like a battleground when it comes to serving dinner. My daughter keeps getting upset when we try any new foods. Any advice? Please help.
So, if you can eat with your child, eat at least one meal a day, or if it's only every few days, and then you put the food in front of them and you do this was a lifesaver for me, family-style dining. Pass one piece around. You have a plate and a learning plate. If they don't eat what's on their plate, you put on their learning plate. The learning plate's no pressure, and this revolutionised my life. They learned that I'll pick this up, I'll put it on my learning plate. If I'm not forced to eat it now, there is no pressure on me. I'll eat my safe food, and then they're engaging with it. Like, I mean, you mightn't think it's a big deal, but even a child, like, looking at this in an environment, my son wouldn't eat at the table with us for 2 years. Wow. And this can be, it's a huge amount of psychology behind it. This goes into the oven for 20 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you my polka dot eggs. I'm just going to wash my hands here really fast. So the reason I'm doing polka dot eggs, so we're having a little picnic, and it's a way of bringing a lot of fear away from kitchen tables because you're having picnic out, or you can even have it inside because the weather isn't great.
Guys, you pick away the sausage rolls if you want.
They're just, so this is after 20 minutes. I've done them in little bite-sized pieces for kids, and then I've done them a little bit bigger if you prefer them bigger. And I'm just going to give these to the browning.
Oh, thank you.
Over here.
I got some ketchup.
Now, can I tell you, my son lived for ketchup. If your child likes ketchup, give them the ketchup. It's no big deal. It's a way they can learn how to maybe eat vegetables and dip them in. So these eggs, I came up with these because you need to let kids play with the food and make it fun. Now, I don't mean throw it across the room, play with their food, but actually let them touch the food, and you have to accept that they mightn't eat this, but take the pressure off that. So I have a little pastry piping bag nozzle here. I use this to cut out the hard-boiled egg, and then I just cut out some carrot left over and other vegetables, and I just cut them out and I pop them in there. It might seem like the tiniest little thing, but for a child that's really fearful of eating, the first way you need to let them accept food is actually by seeing it and then touching it. Would you eat foods you wouldn't touch?
So I'm loving the sausage.
No, you love the sausage.
I convinced myself, you know, when you spoke about textures there.
Yeah.
I think up until the age of 12, I convinced myself I was allergic to mushrooms just because I was afraid of the texture. But now I love them.
Mushrooms is one of the only things.
Yeah.
See, we all have something.
What was your thing? Did you ever have something, Ryan, like...
Tomatoes.
Is it the texture? Sometimes it's the texture, how it feels on the tongue.
The look, everything
What I
about
don't like is when the small ones pop in your mouth and it's just a horrible feeling.
See, it's a whole texture thing, and you go from a dry to a wet, and that's how a lot of kids feel as well.
Okay.
And the other thing as well is when, like with vegetables, they're very like tasteless or boring, or you know they're wet on the inside and not so much on the outside. So actually letting kids feel the food, and this was a great tip I want to share with anyone today that's struggling, is a lot of ways I did it was I get water and I say, like, smell the water. You put the fruit in the water. It's not going to flavour the water, but they're going to see it in the water, and that is one step. You could even do with some veg as well.
Oh, so they don't have to drink it, just look at it?
The first thing is you look at it.
Because it's actually quite nice
first
to
thing
drink.
you look at it. There's 32 steps to teaching somebody how to go from a new food to actually eating. And then with sausage rolls, they can be put in the freezer. So I always have, like, I call them my grab and go. With these eggs, my kids love making them. They're so much fun. But it's that way of getting them involved with food because there's so much pressure. Kids think that if they touch the food, they're going to be forced to eat them, and that's not necessarily the truth. So if one person comes up to me and says, what would I do? I'd say do family-style dining as your first thing.
Insights, and also the sausage rolls, absolutely. And check her out on our Instagram for more fussy eating tips for the kids.